Welcome, everyone. We're going to give folks just a minute to get into the room. All right, let's get started. Well, I am happy to introduce tonight's event, Securing Tomorrow, Cybersecurity Trends and Career Paths. This event was developed in the spirit of Ducks Helping Ducks for Career Success, which is the mission of the Duck Career Network. Joining us this evening is my colleague Shannon Rose Peterson, assisting with this webinar behind the scenes, and a panel of cybersecurity experts that I am really eager for you all to meet. So let's get started with some introductions. I'm going to hand it over to Jose. Jose, can you tell us a little bit about your role and your areas of expertise? And then we'll hand it off to Reza and then Lisa.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan. I am the cybersecurity Chief Operation Security Officer at the University of Oregon, where I'm in charge of all the cybersecurity functions and information security risk management for the university. It's a very interesting position that allows me to engage with multiple areas around the university: administrative, academic, and research. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Reza?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. My name is Reza Rajai. I'm a professor and head of computer science department here at U of O, where I've been for 22 years. I'm also serving as the Associate Director of the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence for Oregon. And as far as my own area of research, my research is in computer networks, network measurements, and cybersecurity.
And Lisa. Oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Yeah, got it. I'm Lisa, and I'm a senior manager at EY as part of EY cybersecurity practice. My focus has primarily been on application security, cloud security, and security architecture.
Thank you. All right, so during our time together, Jose and Reza are going to share with us some of the ways in which the U of O has been leading the charge to prepare students for filling cybersecurity roles. And we'll also be receiving some insights from Lisa, who will touch upon her career path from being a psychology major at the U of O to now working as a leader in the cybersecurity industry. And we'll wrap it up and talk about, some of the impacts of AI on the cybersecurity industry. So let's dive in. Lisa, why is there such a demand for cybersecurity jobs right now?
I think we've always had a demand, and I don't think we've ever been able to catch up. But as the cyber attacks grow, so does the demand for cybersecurity experts. And there's a data point last year from Women in Cybersecurity where in 2014 there were 1 million unfulfilled roles, and then in 2023 there were 3.4 million unfulfilled roles. I do think many people may shy away. They think the roles are highly specialized or technical roles, but really need all kinds of critical thinking skills and skills to support governance, assessing risk, program builds, culture shifts, innovation, as well as operations, attack and pen, implementing infrastructure development and engineering. So I think it's a mix, and a lot of people might shy away from considering cybersecurity or that the skills that they have are applicable in taking that next step. But a lot of it's demand.
All right, that's good. Well, Jose and Reza, let's turn over to you to share a little bit about what's happening at the U of O to prepare future cybersecurity leaders. And then we'll come back to Lisa to gain more in-depth industry insights from her perspective. So Jose, as the Chief Information Security Officer for the University of Oregon, can you share an example of how you've successfully balanced risk management with promoting innovation and digital transformation at the UFO.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Megan. So yeah, cybersecurity, one of the things that I want to start with is when we talk about cybersecurity, I like to think mostly about risk management. It's a risk management practice and also happens to be on a campus a real balancing act. As I was saying earlier, I have to engage with the academic sector, the research areas, and the administrative areas around the university. As you might think about that, each of those areas really come with different requirements, either regulatory or just basic performance of what they're trying to accomplish on their day-to-day operations. That presents some very interesting challenges. So we're always looking for ways that we can help alleviate some of the demands and challenges that are intrinsic to any of those functions. So one of the things that we're trying to do is figuring out how do we increase productivity, right? So without having to introduce too many security controls that might detract from their operations. A simple example that I like to present many times is the use of email security solutions. The university, for example, receives between about several millions, 25 million messages any given month. If you think about it, about 66 to 70% of those messages we remove right away. So we have technology that allows us to just take those out. They don't have to make it to the user. That's usually information that it's not necessary. It's going to be spam. It's going to be phishing messages. It's going to be a lot of that. For example, last month we saw about 25 million messages destined to U of O users. And after we work on our security messages and our security postures, we reduced that to about 8.7 million emails that were delivered to our users. That simple step translates into something very simple. If you take that, it takes about, if you consider that it might take about 5 seconds to process every email, we're talking about returning back to the university about 1,400,000 minutes back, 23,000, or read it another way, 23,000 hours, or even 900 days that our employees, our staff, our students don't have to be dealing with any of that. So that's a good increase in our productivity. So thank you.
Thank you, Jose. So let's talk about some exciting things that are happening in the world of UO academics, particularly in the development of the new cybersecurity major that was first offered in 2023. Reza, what led to its creation and what else is on the horizon here at the U of O?
Right. So as Lisa pointed out, the gap between the number of cybersecurity professionals that are coming to the market and the demand for these professionals, that gap has been growing in recent years. And this was apparent to us a few years ago, and that motivated us to create a new degree. It is a bachelor's of cybersecurity in our department, and as you said, we started offering it formally this past fall. And I like to just talk a little bit about features of this degree. This is at its core, it's a computer science degree because we offer it in the computer science department. And I'm mentioning that because there are cybersecurity programs across the nation that focus on other aspects such as business, such as behavioral issues and things like that. We want to make sure that this degree emphasizes experiential learning, and I talk about that in more details later on. There has been some guidelines from federal agencies about cybersecurity program. NSA had some guidelines, and our program follows those guidelines. And in general, we are focusing on 3 key areas that are network security, system security, and software security. So this program is in place, and I was really excited to hear that for the coming year, we have around 300, as of a couple of months ago, we had around 300 applicants just for this program without advertising or doing any PR. So that was really interesting. Realizing that different groups have different needs, we are also working on offering a master's degree in cybersecurity and also a certificate degree in cybersecurity. And I think by the sometime next year, we should finish the approval process for those 2 degrees and be able to offer them. There are a number of other activities related to cybersecurity that we're going to touch on today in the rest of the conversation we have. But one of the main activities is to add more courses related to cybersecurity. And our emphasis there was to be current and to explore interdisciplinary aspect of cybersecurity. So there are courses related to cyber law that we are working on. There are courses related to data ethics that we are working on. And there's also another course in the application of AI in cybersecurity that we are working on. So there is a lot going on. We are excited about where we are, but there is a lot more work to be done.
And, I've come to learn that the U of O has been offering some pretty impactful experiential learning opportunities for students, both at the U of O and in the local high school community. So, Reza and Jose, maybe you can talk a little bit about some of these cybersecurity summer camps that are offered for high school students and teachers, and a bit about the Training Security Operations Center here at the U of O that allows U of O students some hands-on learning.
So let me start with experiential learning. As I mentioned earlier, it was pretty clear for us that we want to offer hands-on training, and we thought about offering internship, letting students go to some industry internship, but it became clear pretty quickly that it wouldn't be a uniform experience. So we decided to have in-house experiential learning, and to do that, we created what is called a Training Security Operations Center. So this is a facility that serves clients outside the university. These are public entities such as school districts, cities, counties, tribes that cannot afford to get these services. We offer them these services at low cost. We have a couple of engineers that run this facility and work with vendors with respect to some of the required services. But then the facility, this center, is going to be run by a student. So a student that registered for a class, spend multiple shifts during the week and attend to different functions. So this is as close as possible to a real experience that the students could have in the real world. And we think this is very valuable, while at the same time, we are offering a service to the community around us in the state. Once this Security Operations Center is in place, we're also hoping to offer training to local IT staff over the summer and make sure to upskill this group of partners. If I can zoom out and talk a little bit broadly about what we want to do, the broad goal here is to turn U of O into a regional hub in cybersecurity research, education, and training. And you can imagine, in order to achieve these goals, there are many elements that has to fall in place. You have to have a proper number of cybersecurity faculty with right expertise. You need to have programs in place. You need to create an ecosystem. Because of that, we have been engaged in summer camp for cybersecurity summer camp for high school students to get them engaged and interested in this program. We offered it last year, we're planning it this year, and starting next year, we also want to offer summer camp for high school teachers to do curriculum development around this topic. We are working on industry partnership that I'm not going to get into the details on, but I also want to emphasize that where we are today and what we are doing today was not possible without the work we have done over the past decades in terms of collaboration, partnership, and outreach. And this has happened largely by information services that Jose is running. And I want to sort of pass the floor to him to talk about that history that enabled us to do what we do right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Reza. Yeah, so one of the things that early on we started looking at, as we saw at the University of Oregon, yes, we have our administrative areas, but we have a large academic areas. And one of the things that I started really thinking about is how do we collaborate a lot closer with computer science at the time before the cybersecurity program. So we started with some very basic projects. For example, can we make use of network flows data that can be used to do some analysis and make some interpretations of what's happening? And we started finding out that there are quite a bit of steps that we have to take to even share that data, what would be production data, live data, with an academic area. So we needed to navigate the university environment, but at the end, we did end up with a good project that allows us to ship some really very important data flows that can be used for traffic characterization. And that data is anonymized, so we don't have to worry about any of privacy concern at that level. So it really increased that. We continue elevating that and started doing NSF grants together. We worked on building a test bed for networking around campus that ended up coming back to campus. So this is an example of how our research work comes back into the university infrastructure. So that's very successful. Several years ago, when we started then working with cybersecurity formally, I created our Cybersecurity Operations Center. And the concept was, we are going to use students from around the university, and we're going to bring them in, and we're going to train them in cybersecurity to be cybersecurity practitioners. And we take those students through multiple areas. They can be SOC analysts, cybersecurity operations center analysts. They could be incident response analysts. They could do information security compliance analysts. They can also go through and do what is called DevSecOps. There's basically developers in that area in the back end, and that has been very successful. One of the things that we noticed is like, there's an opportunity here. We can't really hire enough people. They're not out there. So we had to come and get our students and format ourselves. That doesn't scale. I mean, at the best, I can get about 12 to 16 students in my program, and we needed to really expand that. And those conversations really provided some growth. Along the way, we also created what is called the Oregon Cyber Resilience Summit. I believe we just shared the link with you. I would encourage you to visit that. That is a hub that brings together many different organizations within the state of Oregon, from the University of Oregon, from other universities around Oregon, K-12, private industry, state, local, and federal government. We all come to the University of Oregon and really try to figure out, what do we do to become resilient in cyber? So I encourage you to take a look at that. And it's an interesting program because it also brings together the Oregon Cybersecurity Challenge Cup, which is a great idea that brings together high schoolers, college students, and professionals in a capture the flag kind of environment, where we start with a jamboree on each of those leagues. And then after that, we just bring them together and create new groups that involve high school students, college students, and professionals, and really create that mentorship energy that is really necessary for us to continue to build cybersecurity professionals. And now, with the introduction in the cybersecurity program, we're really looking forward to continue to partner and develop even more professionals for that area. Thank you, Megan.
Well, so many exciting initiatives happening right now, and that brings me to the Oregon Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. So Reza, you serve as the Associate Director of the center. Can you tell us why this was developed now and what its impact will be on the state of Oregon? And before you jump in, I just want to remind the audience, if you have any questions for our panelists throughout this presentation, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to as many questions as possible towards the end of the program. So hand it over to you, Reza. Oh, Reza, you're muted. Oh, Reza, it looks like we're not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry.
was I was trying to catch you, so we might have to start over
All right.
with that question.
Uh, Technical difficulty, no matter how
That's
many.
okay, it happens.
So over the past few years, Portland State, Oregon State, and University of Oregon have been working with the state legislature to create a center in order to do the coordination and a number of issues related to cybersecurity in the hope of improving cybersecurity posture of the state and help all the population across the state. And the mandate for such a center was really wide and large, ranging from workforce development, R&D, advisory board, advisory body for state leadership, coordination, assessment, resiliency. The list goes on and on. And uh, after several years of effort that basically they couldn't fund this, eventually this past November or this past year, the funding at the lower than expected level, but some funding was provided, and the bill HB 2049 was passed and the center was created. So the center has a branch in each university that is being co-led by all three universities, has an associate director in two places and a director at the third university. Over the past few months, we have been actively working to stand up the center. There are legal issues, there are policy issues that we are addressing, and we are trying to meet with various stakeholders across the state and understand their needs and know about available resources and see how we can create partnership and leverage existing resources, as well as assessing priorities. So it has been a lot of work. It has been exciting for me because it is outward facing rather than going to classroom. You talk to, you know, professionals, you talk to tribes, you talk to school districts and so forth. And we have been also busy securing funding from federal and state sources in addition to what is allocated to us. Within U of O, OCCOE provided funding for the master's program and certificate program and training security operations center that I mentioned earlier. Another really exciting thing about this effort is collaboration between these three universities has been really smooth and productive. And I'm really hopeful that this will spill into other areas based on the relationship and partnerships that are being built.
Wonderful. Thank you, Reza. Um, Reza, Jose, would either of you like to quickly share some insights into your current cybersecurity research or any new projects coming down the pipeline?
I can give you a quick, there are many cybersecurity research projects in computer science department. Some of them are collaboration with information services because they are practical projects. So we have a project that uses what is called runtime data plane telemetry. These are systems that are monitoring the network online as it works and providing signals into network traffic. And the goal of this project is to use machine learning or AI in order to detect interesting events. An interesting event could be a cyber attack. Interesting event could be a major problem in the network. So that is one of the projects that we are closely working with Jose's team to have a deployment in the network. In fact, we have a deployment at the edge of campus. There are another project that is also related to our research and involving the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, where we are trying to assess the resiliency of Oregon cyber infrastructure. Think of a scenario where there is a major earthquake in Oregon, which is very likely. We want to understand which part of the state is being affected in its connectivity through the internet is being affected as a result of cable cut that is caused by an earthquake or by a tsunami and so forth. We also have other projects that are not all related to the internet. And for example, one of the projects that my colleague is working on is trying to use natural language processing in order to attribute an author to a document that you see online. With the use of AI, there are a lot of fake documents that are generated by AI, and people are attributing those to different entities. this technology allows us to accurately assess whether somebody has actually written a document or responsible for it or not. These are just some samples. I'm just going to pass it to Jose if he wants to add more to this list of research projects.
Reza, as you mentioned, no, those are all great ideas that we're looking forward to collaborate with the School of Computer Science, with the Department of Computer Science, and some of the other elements that we continue to work more on the more operational area of cybersecurity have to do with coming up with ideas to predict behavior based on previous usage and what we're showing on the network. So that continues to be one element where we spend quite a bit of time, although our job is not really on the research area, we do spend quite a bit of time to build agile forms to provide services to the university. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about that. At this point, we're going to transition a bit, and we're going to bring Lisa into this conversation. Lisa, you have an interesting career path in that you majored in psychology at the U of O, but you're now a leader in the cybersecurity industry. So I've got kind of a two-part question for you. So coming into the industry from a non-technical background, how did you break in? And then my second part is, we know that cybersecurity companies need to fill both technical and non-technical positions. So maybe you can share with us what some of those crucial needs are that need to be filled right now and where people should go to find out about these opportunities.
So, you gave me a time limit and I graduated in 1994. So I'm going to be conscious of that career path. But at the time when I graduated, let me start with how I make decisions. So I went to the U of O because I liked their mascot from the East Coast. And then I put myself back into school for computer science because I thought it would be cool. I played soccer with a bunch of engineers that worked at Motorola, and I thought it would be cool to write software for defense systems to protect our critical infrastructure and our coalition partners and stuff. So with that said, I did start by putting myself back into school because of that and getting a master's degree, and then went down the career path of, again, the cool thing of working in defense and aerospace, which I was hired through a defense contract, a big defense company. And I was put in the information assurance group to write secure software for secure enclave systems and policies to harden the secure enclave. So I just stayed with that. I had a gut feeling and just continued to enhance my skills and stay current. So that's kind of how it led me to where I am today. And then from that, the roles that I see that need to be filled, both technical and non-technical, honestly, I see a demand in both areas. I don't really see one greater than the other. I do know like there are ups and downs though, depending what's going on in the in industries or with cybersecurity. I know that some of them are a little more difficult, like the one that I'm in, because you have it's helpful to have a software engineering background. But we do have people that come in and can learn and pick up on patterns and things like that and do some of our threat modeling. And then also some of the skills with respect to attack and pen. Some of those critical thinking skills that you may not develop just in your day-to-day. It's helpful to have a background of certifications in those areas, but also with the non-technical roles. I've really actually good communication skills, good people skills, writing skills. And Jose mentioned earlier, thinking about this holistically of assessing risk. So understanding and being able to translate risk to what is the risk to the organization? What's the business impact? Some of those business skills are key, having experience in even business development to help with the innovation and thinking about what kind of services we need to bring together to build some kind of solution. Those are I think it's across the board. And like I said, it goes up and down depending on what's going on with the industry. Right now, it's AI skills. That's the buzzword right this year. So having some of that background in understanding where AI plays into cybersecurity and even those mathematical models or understanding that, but you also don't need to have that background to contribute to some of the AI initiatives. And then I think a big platform to get leads on roles and find out what's out there is networking. Getting out there to attend industry events and just being bold into introducing yourself. A lot of times I have people come and introduce themselves to me and their name sticks in my mind. So when I can take their resume and pass it on, or I just remember when we have a need, remember their name and kind of what they're looking for. So I think networking's plays a larger role than people may think. And in this virtual world, it's a little more difficult. So going into platforms like LinkedIn, I've heard that AI can apply to jobs for you now. I haven't tried that yet. So that would be interesting to hear if somebody had experience with that, but I've been reading about that lately. Not sure how that would work out, or using AI to pick up on those keywords in the like the job description and create your resume for you. So curious to see how that's going to play out. But yeah, I lean a lot more on networking now than I thought I would to get leads for recruiting and just getting that face-to-face, whether it's virtual or to in-person physical events.
Networking is key for sure. Don't discount it. Lisa, can you touch on any DEI initiatives within the cybersecurity industry? What initiatives have you seen implemented, and what work still needs to be done?
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Am I going or Lisa going? Sorry, I missed the initial part. Lisa going.
Let's start off with Lisa, and then Reza, if you want to jump in, we can turn
My
it over.
bad.
Yeah.
I heard the so one of the organizations, there are several industry organizations that focus on have DEI initiatives. One of the ones that I'm involved with is Women in Cybersecurity. They had another data point last year where in 2014, 11% of cybersecurity roles were filled by women, and then in 2023, it's at 24%. So there's still we're still adjusting to fill kind of have that balance. But the Women in Cybersecurity organization, their mission is to build that gender diverse cybersecurity workforce. They have a lot of cybersecurity conferences, a major one every year, a mentor-mentee program, a lot of networking events. Also, there are organizations like the Executive Women's Forum that host events, and this year they had a call for speakers for their fall conference that had a cybersecurity flavor to it. So I just keep my eyes out for those events, knowing that even if it's like Women's Cybersecurity, a cybersecurity name, but Executive Women's Forum, not necessarily, but they still understand the need and have those initiatives to for more visibility into that, what women can bring to the table and present on and are part of the workforce. And then at my organization, and I know a lot of other organizations that we work with, there's internal DEI initiatives like Women in Technology, who either brings in speakers or highlights different people within the organization that can bring a perspective. And then we also attend a lot of recruiting events that are focused on DEI to help with get the brand up there, and also looking for that diversity in hiring and recruiting. So I just think that advocating for diversity in the industry is always going to be there. We'll always be playing that balancing act and encouraging others to join this workforce, regardless of what their skill background may be. So.
Thank you, Lisa. Jose, Reza, would either of you like to expand and maybe talk about any DEI initiatives that are implemented through UO cybersecurity programs?
Yeah, so DI is front and center in many of our activities, and oftentimes it comes down to the barriers that exist out there that we want to sort of take them out of the way, especially for what is called priority population or minority individuals who want to join this program. So that's kind of an overarching theme in many of these activities. And I'm just going to mention a few of them and I elaborate on one of them. So there is a SAIL program here at U of O that over the summer they bring first gen or minority students to campus, and we offer, along other departments, we offer a week-long camp to basically inspire these individuals so they see what is called an opportunity gap, that they could be pursuing computer science, they could be pursuing cybersecurity. The summer camp that I mentioned earlier that we offer in cybersecurity, we offer it at no cost, including lunch and all that. And we encourage students from high schools within the 60 miles radius of Eugene to participate. And we have had participants from high schools outside Eugene, not just major high schools, to participate, including female students, which was very encouraging. An activity that I just started as a few days ago, so this is hot from the oven, is in response to one of state program, is to reach out and create sort of address the opportunity gap and knowledge gap for uh, priority population or student of colors and so forth. By in the fall, with using the following strategy, we plan to reach out to a few high schools that have a high percentage of minority students, offer them the summer camp, have a designated person to stay in touch with them throughout the year from junior to senior year, help them apply for financial aid resources as well as cybersecurity program, and then have them apply and then secure a position in their cybersecurity program. But that is just half the job because many of these students have some gaps in their background knowledge before they even start a program. So we want to have a summer bridge program to address some of those gaps to make sure when they start in the fall of first year, freshman year, they're ready to be part of that program in a meaningful way. So there are a lot of things we do and requires non-technical groundwork, and I think those are happening or being planned for years to come.
So yeah, so I'd like to add a couple of comments from the regular workforce environment. So as I told you earlier, we run our cybersecurity operations center just using students, right? They are the primary workforce. And we have always struggled with how do we introduce diversity and mostly gender diversity. I think we have pretty good diversity in many other elements that one can measure. And being always very happy to see that 24% of the workforce identify themselves as females, and we're trying to bring that and represent it into our population. We were always very happy. This year was the first time that we were able to break that, where 46% of the students on the CSOC identified themselves as female. So that is very encouraging, and we continue to look at how we continue to evolve that. I mean, how do we make sure that we continue to represent that and attract students by removing some STEM challenges, by looking at, what are there's an NSF initiative on cybersecurity workforce and understanding the data that is available, and how do we turn that around and use it to increase our DEI efforts at the university. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're just speeding along here, and we are next going to touch on the role of AI in cybersecurity. And I'm going to ask this question to Lisa. If you can just share a little bit about the role that AI plays in various cybersecurity sectors. What's the good and bad of AI? And maybe give us some insights into how your company EY uses AI learning in cybersecurity.
Sure. So from a sector perspective, I'll give like 3 examples of where AI plays the good, does good, I'll say. Also, for example, in the energy sector, using AI to boost our smart defenses and boost our smart defenses in the energy grids and power plants, and then mobility. So using AI to monitor intrusion and anomalies to help protect, excuse me, to help protect. And then in our autonomous vehicles. So with where I was thinking about that is, I don't know if everyone's heard of Waymo, and that's the autonomous driving vehicle. And I'm kind of obsessed with them in Phoenix. We're on a grid, one of the first cities. And so like the other day, there was a car playing with the Waymo to try to make the Waymo wouldn't let us get over. And I kept thinking to myself, well, I hope they're upping their AI algorithms to defend against this. So in the meantime, a human's still really important and a human perspective to stick my camera out the window to take a picture and scare the car off. But I guarantee that there is AI in some part of all of those sensors protecting that autonomous vehicle. And then another one where AI does good in another sector is the financial sector. So if you think about the SEC and using AI to sift through significant amounts of data to identify abnormal behavior and patterns like insider trading, where the AI models can detect that, which will allow the SEC to take quicker action when something like that's detected. So those are just 3 examples of where it's doing good with respect to a sector focus. And I always have to bring up that Waymo. Wait till you guys get in a Waymo in your cities. And then some of the bad is continuing. We continue to see, as I mentioned earlier, with AI, the threats are increasing. AI is making things faster. They're using machine learning algorithms and phishing attacks to generate personalized information and convince people that those phishing emails are more real than they would anticipate and trick them. I think Jose mentioned something about that early on, all of the information emails they receive. And then there's the ransomware is improving, that it uses machine learning algorithms to adapt new security measures and evade detection. And also, I think someone put this in the chat as well. There's a question about DDoS attacks. So the denial of service attacks that use machine learning algorithms now to generate high volumes of network traffic to overwhelm and take down target systems. So we're continuing to see, if you think about it, the same types of attacks. They're just accelerated, or they're more enhanced, they're faster, more difficult, more intricate than we've seen before. And so it's what I think about some of the bad that AI is bringing. And there's some other more things you could think about, like tainting data and things like that. It's heavily relied ethical things. So full myriad of the bad as well.
Jose, Reza, do you want to jump in and add anything around AI and its effects on cybersecurity?
I have some comments there. So yeah, we're paying very close attention to cybersecurity for many reasons. Is the ease of creation. That use of creation can be used for many things, some of them very productive, some of them very damaging. What that means for us is starting to pay attention to how are these tools being used, and this is from the practitioner side. Can we take advantage of some of these tools to level up and take advantage of them to really make our organizations a little bit more agile? For example, can we use them to help us in the middle of an incident, collecting information all together, and as part of the response, can we do that? But we gotta go beyond that. I mean, my job, besides being a protector of security and services, we also need to think of the data that these models are being used. One of the big challenges when we started seeing AI models, and you probably read about those in the news, had to do with individuals. Just, oh, this is very, very great. I can just put my meeting notes in ChatGPT, and it will give me back a really concise set of a document, right? Well, guess what you just did? I mean, you just released probably proprietary information into this model that you don't have control over. So we're really looking at, from the university's point of view, on how are we going to make sure that we have clean data for these models that can be used either internally at the university, but also as some of those models try to learn from what is available on the internet, is a little bit of data hygiene will become very important.
Thanks, Jose. Reza, you wanted to add something?
No, I'm very good. I think it was a good coverage of the topics.
Great. All right. Well, I want to be mindful of time. We want to get to some audience Q&A, but I do have one last question here for Jose. Jose, what is your vision for the future of information security at the U of O? And are there any key initiatives that you're planning to implement in the coming years that you can share with us?
That's a great question. And looking at the time, we'll try to figure something out on how you talk about it. But one of the big things that we're looking at the University of Oregon is really we are able to introduce tools. We bring tools. There's a lot of tools being developed. However, we continue to see data breaches. We continue to see loss of financial losses by companies. So what's going on? I mean, yes, there is an element of technology, but there's also a human element that we need to bring back. We can't just think about technology will solve everything, although realistically, we should build technology that is resilient enough to allow for a single incident without taking down the whole business. So there's elements on both sides, and we're working on that. But one of the big initiatives is really trying to build a cybersecurity aware culture on campus. In order to do that, we are hiring somebody whose job is going to be that. I mean, just look at the university, understand our human risk, and really work with the different areas and segments of the university to figure out how do we strengthen our community. And the idea being that if we build a cybersecurity aware community while they're on campus, when they go out into industry, they will take that culture out with them, and we just propagate that information. You heard me talk a little bit about predictability of data analytics to predict the future using different techniques like the attack framework and the kill chain, and there's other elements that we can learn from, and we can tie that into AI language models that we can then accelerate that prediction. And we're looking forward to that. And finally, data governance and privacy are two big elements that we're looking at. We call it cybersecurity, but we do a lot of information security, so a much larger point of view, and we're trying to understand where is our data? Is our data secure? How is it moving? There's lots of legislation that you will hear about. You hear about GDPR. You hear about China Information Protection Law. You hear about the California Protection CPA, and we will continue to see some more of that. So we're spending a lot of time on making sure that we are being good stewards of the information that it's being provided to us by our students and our community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jose. Whoa, so much great information that we've shared together. And now is my favorite part of any webinar, getting to audience Q&A. So we have had some questions coming in through the Q&A feature, as well as a couple that came in through the chat box. I think let's just jump right in. Let's start with a question that was submitted here, which is, what does the outlook look like for public health and cybersecurity careers?
That's a great question, especially if you have been listening to news lately. You hear every time that there is a element of that we need to be paying attention. And we're going to see a lot of new initiative. It just really emphasizes the lack of cybersecurity practitioners. There's just not enough of us out there. So the idea, programs like our cybersecurity program here, the idea is to build that cybersecurity workforce to make sure that we have enough individuals available to help guide those different institutions. And that's from the point of view, how do you build your systems, architecture? How do you develop better applications that are not subject to some of the common attacks that we see out there? So we're going to continue to see some of that, and we're going to continue to operate and try and leapfrog over that.
All right. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, Reza, did you have something to add? I saw you unmuted.
No.
Okay. How about this? What is the best cybersecurity strategy for solopreneurs? And maybe another part of this could be what can small businesses do to be prepared and secure? This might be a big question.
I can provide some simple examples. Assuming you're based in the United States. So the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, provides, if you go to CISA.gov, there are great opportunities and information that can be used by pretty much any kind of institution there. Now, in addition to that, they do provide some services that are available to the community, including vulnerability scanning, assessment. So there's a lot of information out there that can be used. Another possibility is reach out to your colleges and universities near you. Figure out if there's a program if you're in Eugene, come to the University of Oregon, talk to us. I mean, I'm sure that we can help and give you some guidance, and that's pretty common. You can get some students. So there are some very good possibilities on what can be done for an organization, even a solopreneur or anybody that's growing. There's lots of possibilities.
Lisa, Reza, anything else to add?
No, that's operational stuff. Jose is the expert, so.
All right, let's see here. Here's a question that came in. When you say you've received federal guidelines, are these guidelines that might include recent changes in HIPAA laws regarding data privacy in mental health EMR systems, amongst others?
So I think this refers to what I mentioned earlier. So there are federal guidelines on many fronts. I was referring to the federal guidelines from NSA. I think there's a framework called NICE. And this is meant to have a structured view of a cybersecurity program, training program in particular. So if you come and say, I have a cybersecurity program, they want to see it laid out on top of that framework to see what topics are covered, how many elements of individual topic is covered. And this is a way for them to assess the coverage and depth and breadth of a particular program. So I was referring to that particular program that is a particular guideline that is geared specifically to cybersecurity training. So there is no HIPAA or other aspect involved in that one. But I'm sure there are other guidelines, federal guidelines, but I wasn't referring to those. Just to.
And we do a lot of, we call them like cyber program assessments, or assessing your security controls from a program perspective, a technical perspective, and have to take in consideration all of the industry, or I guess, depending on what sector you're associated with, the federal or industry guidelines and standards when assessing your data protection controls or your overall cyber controls, or so we have to take into consideration the latest and the greatest as well when we're looking across different sectors that are industry or sector specific.
All right, we had another question come in. Let's see. Let me know. This might be a lot to answer. Some of this terminology goes a bit over my head. So someone asked, what projects slash software stacks would you recommend for continuing CIS education? For example, is it still worth it to practice thinking about handling DDoS attacks? I'm sorry if I'm messing this up, given the updated attack methods we've recently seen. Who would like to tackle that?
I can start, and I know that Lisa wants to provide some ideas there. But yeah, they're still valid. I mean, things are just getting a little more difficult. I think that, and we'll put some links on things that you can look into. But it depends on the attack. So when you have DDoS attacks, they could be volumetric, and that's mostly an infrastructure issue that we would have to figure out, and how do we remove the bad traffic from the good traffic. But then we also have DDoS attacks that are based on the way that we write applications. If individuals, if you're into the web development space, as a tool or an area that I always recommend for developers to take a look at is OWASP. And OWASP is going to be probably your best source. That's the Open Worldwide Application Security Project. And they provide you even with a top 10 web application security risks, things that you should be, as a developer, you should be spending some time making sure that your code does not suffer from those challenges. So, and we'll post some other links. I'm gonna make sure I share with Megan and Shannon, and they can make them available to you all, about some resources that I usually recommend some of my students to take a look, depending on what career track they're looking into.
Just to add to that, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we see a lot of the same types of attacks. They're just the intensity is increased. The skills to execute them are more sophisticated. And then, like Jose said, OWASP is a good one too. It also has, they've expanded their catalog, so to speak, of top 10 with like API security. There's even an AI security top 10. So that's definitely a good industry reference. We reference that a lot when we're talking with clients of and aligning what we think that their risks are.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, we are at time. We've covered a lot of ground during this hour, and I just wanted to let the audience know we're going to be providing a lot of great follow-up resources, information for you after this webinar. So, you know, I want to thank Jose, Reza, thank you for sharing your insights about what's happening at the U of O around cybersecurity initiatives. Lisa, for your knowledge around career trends and AI's influence on cybersecurity. Early next week, I will be getting an email out to all of our attendees with a recording of today's webinar, as well as some helpful resources like we've mentioned in the chat box. We'll be able to share those with you in a follow-up email, and we'll send an event survey and some great information for you to look into. So thank you to all of our panelists. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and go Ducks.
Thanks, everyone.